What you're looking at here is the back cover of the winter 1989 EV issue of Oye, or we always called it Oyez magazine. This is the Lodge Journal of Heru-ra-ha Lodge OTO, which was founded in or chartered in 1978, literally. And if you look right behind me there, there's the charter. And even though we're not actively active, actually ever since the pandemic, and we've moved from Orange County, California to Sacramento, we've been in a state of suspension. I don't know if we'll ever be able to actively. It's a great sadness for us that part of our life has been so rudely interrupted by world events and things. But this is literally early on in the lodge's career, our very dear friend and very, very active and supportive lodge member who now calls himself Jonathan Greenlee, extremely talented, wonderful magician, great Solomonic magician. But he encouraged us and actually set up the format for drug us kicking and screaming into having a regular journal, lodge journal. And here is illustrations from many of those issues. And see that Yi Ching one right there? That's the front and back cover. Now, we included a combination of goofy cartoons, captions, satires, along with very, very difficult to find at that time Crowley material. Like this issue contained the entire text of the Heart of the Master. And for many people, it was the only Heart of the Master that they'd ever seen or got to read. And it's, it was a valuable thing, but it was also goofier and shit, okay? And part of what made that goofy is the artwork and the captions by David P. Wilson. Now, later in life, David P. Wilson would write books, Urban Voodoo and things like that, as S. Jason Black. And he was our house, if you will, our house cartoonist. Now, David was, these are covers, some cartoons. Okay, and this is the cover of this one. Very cool. Now, in honor of the 10th anniversary of OTO, we were honored to have the opening page introduced by Jimenez Beta. Okay, that was the Frater Superior of the OTO, who was kind enough to write a nice little anniversary aneurysm by the Frater Superior. I'm going to share that with you before we get into some cartoons. So far as I'm aware, Heru-ra-ha Lodge was the first full lodge of OTO established as an offshoot of a parent lodge in the same country. In other words, under a Grand Lodge. Without a doubt, it is the first such lodge still operating. Viewed today, 12 years after its founding, It represents a watershed in the order's development. We are taught early in OTO that a multicellular organism outperforms the amoeba by virtue of, quote, structuralization, with each cell assuming special responsibilities toward the well-being of the whole according to its inherent nature. Evolution depends upon this principle. Grady McMurtry, that was the first caliph or Frater Superior, who passed away in 1985. Grady McMurtry often indirectly echoed this with his theories of, quote, matrix management, unquote. I'm sure it crossed his mind when he issued the charter for Heru-ra-ha Lodge. The very idea of a magical order that is individualistic but disciplined, partisan yet cooperative, whose regional groups embody the flair and flavor of their members like the Highland clans, but whose leaders deal as statesmen would. This is nothing less than what the OTO founders envisioned would come to pass someday. We all knew it looked good on paper, but Heru-ra-ha Lodge tested it in the field. Now, after 500 initiations, and that was only in 1985, now after over 500 initiations at home and in the field, countless Gnostic masses, endless Supreme Council meetings, a decade of annual rites of Eleusis, palace intrigue, and the Illuminati Awards, a War of the Roses, and my precious back issues of Oyez, the political training of Frater Yod, the creation of the twin homunculi, Maurice and Raymond. Those are our cats, okay? He knew the names of our cats. And the establishment of the first legitimate OTO dynasty in the person of future shogun Jean-Paul Clouseau DuQuette, rapidly approaching his majority. What I want to know is, how is it that Lon and Constance still look like high school sweethearts? What is their secret? Have they in fact solved the great riddle of life, of love, of liberty, of light? Should the OTO start believing its own press releases? The answer, gentle reader, lies in the advice a father once gave his son. Keep your eye on the ball, be nice to your mother, and careful what you wish for. You might get it. Love is the law, love under will. Jimenez Beta, Frater Superior OTO. Well, that was very nice and very kind of him. And once again, here's some things. I want to share a little bit about David Wilson. He was a remarkable character and the finest, no question, nobody came near, finest scryer that we've ever encountered. He had the ability not only to trigger visions, usually Enochian visions, and he was a Goetic practitioner on a personal level, but he could do the classic scryer thing. He could describe what's going on in a magically induced vision. He could describe it in words as it was happening. Now, I've encountered other people that can do it well, but he could actually do it in visions of previous incarnations. He could estimate the year of a previous incarnation by the clothes the person was wearing, things like that. He was very good. He was militantly and aggressively gay, okay, and very proud of it, and we all loved him immensely, and he expanded the consciousness of many of our lodge members that had grown up not understanding or appreciating that. He was wonderful, absolutely wonderful, and he was the most cynical person I've ever met. But let's see here. Maybe I can. He did a series in Oye called Great Figures in Occult History. And he took off on MacGregor Mathers. Okay. Look at Tidy Bowl. Okay, that's MacGregor Mathers. Maybe I can hold it up because I got another one right here. There we go. I'm gonna read the caption to you, and you can enjoy his artwork there if I can hold it still enough. Great Figures in Occult History, number 88, McJerry Mathers. Now that's for those of you who aren't old enough. Jerry Mathers played Beaver in that series, Leave It to Beaver. Okay, so there may be some outdated gags here that not everybody will appreciate. McJerry Mathers, 1845 to 1923. Born in 1845 to Angela Pawlowski and Eddie the Mark Sykes, or Toothless Bill Cratchit, or the Earl of Carnarvon, McJerry Mathers was a sensitive child who knew at an early age that he was not as others. Because of their poverty, he was forced to earn a living by pulverizing mummies for the British Museum to sell as laxatives in their gift shop. This Egyptian influence was to become a major factor in his later life and regularity. At 18, he was promoted to custodian and joined the Queerfellow Society of Anglica, where he met Wynne Westcott and Dr. Woodman. One weekend they found, written on the restroom wall of an abandoned music hall in Piccadilly, a message in cipher, written by the mysterious Fraulein Spiralinga, giving the secrets to a low-sodium, high-fiber way of initiation. From this, they founded the Hermetic Order of the Golden Showers. In 1886, he married Mona Samora, a graphic artist for the News of the World. Although their marriage was never consummated, they were known as the best canasta players in the East End. His downfall came when he recognized Imelda and Raymond Bucky Horos. Now, there really was quite a scandal with the Matherses in Paris, and their recognition of a couple of people. Their name was Horos. That had a kind of a monstrous scam whereby they took advantage of young girls. Okay, that actually happened in the last part of Mather's life. But anyway, that didn't escape David's notice here. His downfall came when he recognized Imelda and Raymond Bucky Horace as Continental Rosicrucian adepts. They convinced him to open up a Hermetic preschool in the suburbs of Paris. Their 1899 conviction of frog molestation signaled the end of Mather's participation in esoteric queer fellowship. Also, his magical duels with his rival Aleister Crowley are legendary. Mathers, evoking the Egyptian god Set to kill Crowley's guppies, countered by Crowley's tantric operation, causing Mathers' colonic polyps to turn into subcutaneous hives. That's his great figures in occult history. Here's another piece of artwork that he contributed to. He was really quite remarkable. I think the good folks at Falcon Press printed one of his comic books, or included it in a publication. I can't remember which. I did this one. Okay, there's a famous picture of Aleister Crowley and Rose and me. Okay, let me see if I can hold this up while I read the... Let's see here. Okay. I don't see the screen, but I'll... Archbishop DuQuette circulated the above photograph in his attempt to prove that he was the son of Aleister and Rose Crowley. Even though the photo was dismissed by experts as being a, quote, a remarkably poor example of cut and paste, unquote, the Archbishop insisted till the time of his death that it was genuine and that he still had the dress which he wore in the picture. And that picture was the final illustration to the book review, I Channel, Archbishop DuQuette by Eric Anpin. I could read lots of these things. Okay, they're just absolutely, well, to me, they're extra funny because I knew the circumstances in which he created them. And I'm just going to read this last one here. I can only show you this first. There is obviously a takeoff on L. Ron Hubbard, the Sea Org, and there he is. And there's a E-meter, which is a pizza box, and looks like a beer can there. And he's out in front of his boat there. Even the bird is pooping. Okay. Here's his caption. Great Figures in Occult History number 41. Elroy Hubbard, 1919 to 1979, or 1985, or 1987, question mark. Lionized today by Scientocratists as the greatest humanitarian in history, Elroy Hubbard began his career as a stunt bicyclist and freelance science fiction writer. Entering the Navy at the beginning of World War II, he was stationed in Milwaukee, where he was temporarily blinded in a delicatessen sauerkraut explosion, which necessitated his internment at the Umbilical Institute for Naval Injuries. It was during this period that he achieved his mystical insights that led to the writing of his best-selling book, Diuretics, The Modern Science of Bladder Health. Although denied by Scientocratists, he served soon after as scribe for the infamous anti-MAME workings of Jack Parsons, where he interpreted the guttural noises of Parsons copulating chihuahuas. See the Puce Pilgrimage. After stealing Parsons' yacht and chihuahuas, he started the Church of Scientocracy and invented the notorious F-meter. This device was denounced by FDA as just a pizza box and a couple of beer cans, but was still hailed by many as a major new aid in mental counseling. Pursued by the law, he took refuge on his yacht and anchored it in the middle of the Los Angeles River, where he remained until he died or was murdered or something, somewhere around 1979 or 85 or sometime. Since his death, he's produced 21 new science fiction novels, 3 record albums, and a line of perfumes. L. Roy Hubbard. And that was in the edition of Oyez that contained The Right of Earth. Anyway, let's see if there's any other little treats I can share from this. I don't think so. Anyway, that's it for Memories of Heru-ra-ha Lodge. We are officially on the rolls still as a lodge, but we haven't, functioned actively as a lodge since we moved here, and that's a great sadness for us. But anyway, I thought you would enjoy that this morning. And it's sort of like Saturday morning cartoons a day early. Anyway, until tomorrow, and Saturday morning cartoons, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Lack of empathy is not a thelemic virtue. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.